time to hit a crossroads, and I think a lot of friends, followers will appreciate what I'm going to go through tonight, and specifically maybe not a lot of First Peoples. I've honestly there, okay, sorry. Hopefully I can see people. Every now and then this happens. I always end up on my data and then I don't see everybody, but people are probably there, and I didn't want this to get spoiled. Notifications are off. Nothing's going to disturb this live. So, friends, followers, First Peoples, friends, followers, the time in our journey and the work we are doing, this overlaps residential school genocide. Many of the First Peoples close to me know exactly what I'm going to go through tonight. And it's hard. It's hard because we're at that time. It's the end of 2022. I've transitioned residential school genocide to one Jonathan LaBelle. He's going to be taking over that lead on that. And now I am going to continue with the Party of the Canadian Constitutionalists. To do that, I must start with a commission that's going to be half First Peoples and half Canadians, because we're going to go across the 338 and it's going to be 50-50 First Peoples and Canadians. In order to do that, as I've reached out to so many of you that I want in the commission, First Peoples as well too, I've had a rather large amount of First Peoples followers, specifically ladies in the matriarchal side of First Nations here in Canada, I guess USA, and yes, Russia as well too. But I have to address that, and I have to go through history, because in order for us to move forward, everybody, not just First Peoples, but all Canadians who climb on board and go forward, as we go forward in the commission that comes, you're all going to be trained by myself in international law, binding world laws, as the world is to be, as nations are to be since 1945. There's a lot of fabrication out there, a lot of fabrication. The biggest fabricator of such information is the government of Canada itself. This isn't just one party, it's actually all parties, all federal parties, and unanimously all provincial parties as well too. I'm not going to get into that tonight. I'm going to get into this very serious message, announcement, truth, a crossroad that if I don't address this now, it's going to become seriously problematic. I'm putting that warning out there for everybody, especially First Peoples. You may take extreme offense to what I'm going to go through. I'm sorry to do that, but it was actually Starla Antone, and she's not the only one. I get it from a large portion of British Columbia, especially the Greater Vancouver and all the island First Peoples. I get it there too. Wet'suwet'en, absolutely. I also get it in a majority here in Ontario, and I've kind of kept my lip zipped, which maybe hasn't been appropriate. You want people to get on board, and you think, I'm going to have to go through this eventually. I'm going to have to go through this. And I know a lot of people, Robinson Treaty, Huron Treaty, even some Six Nations have been through this with me, but it's on a very small level, and I've never really gone into it publicly like I'm going to go into today. So, First Nations, many of you are enshrined in a matriarchal system. a hereditary system enshrining women in a purpose, in a hereditary higher power purpose, whereas Canada, we've been taken on in a patriarchal system. The man, it's in the Constitution, man. We see political parties getting into gender and discrimination and making major issues of it. I try never to get into matriarchal, patriarchal. I believe in equality of the person. I believe in that definition in international law that men and women are equal. They have gifts, right or left. And when we go forward here, it's time to bring forward what the world has transitioned into since 1945. Because I assure you, all the treaties, this is where it's going to start to get problematic for First Nations. All the treaties in Canada are in violation of international law. Canada has known this for an extremely, very, very long time. Absolutely all the Liberals, all the Conservatives, absolutely all the New Democrats, but nobody, even Elizabeth May and her Green Party and the work she does with First Nations, she won't bring it to you because Canada doesn't want to relinquish that system. This is all about lands and lands back. It's about enfranchisement. The fear from First Peoples, especially in those matriarchal systems, and what has happened to you in your history, what's been forced upon women of the First Peoples here in Canada for a very, very long time. Now that was ended in the 60s, and it was only ended, folks, and I've gone into this portion, by Russia, a Russia-led narrative that the entire world signed on to. The entire world signed on to. Canada had no choice, just like South Africa and 83 other nations we could go through. They hit a point where you will rectify this now, or we're going to rectify you. That is reality. This is what the Allies have done to many countries, or the threat of to many countries. Canada hit that wall. They've hit it many times. People think that our government does a lot of things for us, but they actually haven't. When you start going through the history, you find out that they were arm-barred, so to speak. Your crown politicians were mandated or forced to transition. Enfranchisement was one of them. I have many First Peoples across Canada, Western Canada, right in fact in the hometown I grew up in, Joe Avery. The Michael people, the Michael Reserve, they were disenfranchised. They were eradicated by the government. So long, your land's gone, we won't recognize your people. First Peoples, the canoe and the boat. We're going to go right back to the beginning, and here's the problem. Since 1945, in international law that Canada doesn't want to address. You can't have divinity of human beings since 1945. You talk about self-government, self-determination, and settlement of claims, which I want to see that happen for all the First Peoples. I would love to present a platform shared with you, 50-50, a division, just like the United States, on 50-50. Half of Turtle Island restored to you, half to the Canadian people. Two constitutions, a nation within a nation, one shared UN state. That is what the allies of World War II want to see. That's what they mandate. Canada never changes because they keep these treaty systems, the Indian Act, the initial treaties from a time, the boat and the canoe. And here's the problem, First Peoples, to make it as simple as I can. At that time, you were on the canoe, you met those of the boat. What you didn't see is that somebody was chained down below to the oars rowing that boat. That's my best analogy of those people you made treaties with, and their patriarchal system subjects and any savages they can liquidate, which happened to be your people. You're not the First Peoples. Many First Peoples around the world. Yes, the Red Indians that we talk about, from all the way from South America to Central America to North America, all the way through to Siberia and Russia, all the Arctic, Inuit, we can go on and on. There's 13, in fact, at least on the Russian Arctic side. We can go through all of it, all your people. Those are your people. You got it the worst in eradication by colonials. Colonials who at the time of the treaties, at the time of this system, controlled the world. They were the most powerful groups in the world. They ran the world in a system that was destroyed in World War II. And this is what nobody's educated, not to Canadians, not to First Peoples, that these type of treaties and these systems where you would take those people that you didn't understand or you didn't know at the time, the chiefs didn't know. There were people chained in the bows of those boats who rowed those boats. Those are the subjects, the slaves. They didn't make any deal with you. They're the slaves brought over from Europe who settled. Yes, we can go through American history, we can go through Canadian history, we can go through even Russian, Siberian, Arctic history. We can go through the Russia-America Company. Alaska used to be Russia. All of California, all the way down to Texas, was Russia-America Company, just like East India Trading Company. Now, they did not do the colonialism, the barbarity that the former British Empire did, or the French Empire, or the German Empire. We can go on and on. Germany and Africa, the same powers in Africa, and all the people they hurt and destroyed, and agreements they made that are no longer valid in this world. And to really push this point home, if we don't address these concerns, I can take you on an adventure with the International Criminal Court of all what they call Indigenous persons. We can go through all of that in ICC, and you will find all of these countries of First Peoples throughout the world, especially Africa, who gained independence and had regimes rise in narratives of grandeur, of ideas of ruling and bringing forward human rights violations, or the idea of a revenge or a genocide or another system of oppression. They've been brought down over and over and over again. If we go forward, the First Peoples have to address, not me, not white Canadians, or Canadians not of Indigenous to Canada descent, but your people. But you will have to go through this reality as the Allies present it. If we do not educate that, if we go forward, I ignore this and I pretend that, oh yes, do whatever you want, write your system any way you want, in old times and old narratives, it won't fly. Canada knows it won't fly. It's illegal in the system, but it hangs on to you. They're defined savages, they defined, and We can't let it go, is what they tell. Look, they don't know any better. They don't know any better. We have to keep this arrangement going. We have to keep that slave system, that divinity going, because that's their system. It's what they know. These are the treaties of the old world made illegal since World War II. Folks, if you don't believe me, and all First Peoples, especially chiefs, hereditary or not, matriarchal First Nations women in their divine classes, if you don't believe me, go look at the American Indians today. 155 constitutions they wrote in these narratives and these world-binding laws. We're all doing well today. We're not talking about disenfranchisement. We're not talking about removing your customs, but we are talking about absolutely removing any divinity of a human being, meaning there's not a first person who is the creator or was brought down from the heavens by the creator to be something over all the other First Peoples, just like Canadians in our political system that you don't want to get into. And I know many of the unceded or the very old treaties want nothing to do with the political system. I have many messages since my video, since my post. I've had many messages from First People saying, listen, I can't follow you. We can't do, it's not our way. We won't get into that system. Never, ever, ever. And I'm here today to tell you, if you don't, as a lot of you are feeling, you are going to lose everything that you remain today with will be gone in a very short amount of time. I don't make this up. The statistics are there. The government agendas have always been there. Search your soul, your heart. You know what I say is true. I understand the fear. I understand the fear of registries. The history of Canada, I know. And no peoples has been abused more in that system than your people. Bar none, there's no Canadian. In fact, in the world, you can't even find a peoples more subjugated and brutalized for such a long period of time in history. You can't. Filipinos, pretty close. Spanish in the Philippines, pretty close. There's near 300 years there. You're in that category, but still going today. No independence. What we're doing here, folks, all Canadians and all First Peoples, is bringing forward a platform for the First Peoples and Canadians, a divide, a nation within a nation, two groups, splitting the country away from the divinity of this crown. First Peoples of Canada and all Canadians, 9% of the country is made available to you. 89% of the country remains Crown lands, provincial, federal. Did you know Americans and American Indians enjoy 93.4% of the United States of America made available to them? Theirs. The First Peoples of America, the American Indian, those codified, those who reach settlements, have more land than all Canadians. All Canadian First Peoples Treaty or unceded or off reserve, plus all Métis and absolutely all Inuit, 133% more land. They have their own federal ministry. They are full self-government. They have their own police forces, their own airspace, their own resource rights. Absolutely. This doesn't exist for the Canadian First Peoples. There is no federalism for you. There's only subjugation defined as you are savages through the Indian Act, an evil colonial crown written law still viable and alive today in 2022. This must be removed. There is no other way without violence, without rebellion. And I suppose we could try to wait for that, but for all those unceded folks in British Columbia, especially in Vancouver and the islands, and what they call Cascadia, and over there in Caledonia, Ontario, portions of Quebec as you follow the river, all of those people, Caledonia, Cascadia, you are at an eternal, perpetual war with the government of Canada. Did you know you're at war? That's why they call it unceded. Unceded. Those treaties are not respected in international law, none whatsoever. A system of subjects, i.e. slaves, paying a defined savage on a reserve like an animal. Do you see the problem here already, folks? Do you see the problem? A government says, we made a deal so that our slaves pay you a portion and you remain like animals on a reserve. Oh, by the way, we're not going to give you the same rights as every other Canadian. We're going to keep you under one class of a divine government and remove all other powers thereof, meaning all your civil rights, your human rights. Human rights? Oh, not human. Oh, okay. So that's the treaties that Canada has with all the First Peoples. Very problematic. I understand the fear. I also understand the corruption of the First Peoples leadership themselves. I understand that just like the Canadian federal government and just like the Canadian provincial governments, the Crown, 8 out of 10 are drunken with that autocratic power, just as they've poisoned many of the chiefs against all the First Peoples. No different than the governments against the people of Canada. Subjects and savages. You can jump to the first class. You can jump to it. Administer our system. Everything will be great for you. As long as you will support you, kick those, you're going to rule. Kick them down with us. Support us, we'll support you, and no one will ever be wiser in the world. The Allies will never make a fuss as long as the subjects and savages never make a major fuss. Now, folks, I am not advocating any violence, a revolution of any sort. I don't believe it would ever fly. I don't think it would be successful. But I do know, and I do believe, and I have faith, that if we present this legal platform for once in Canadian history, in a 338 on a federal election, we the people, and we address this divide, and we come with a visual representation of 338 Canadians and First Peoples, 50-50, on this platform to release all the lands to all the peoples, to present we the people constitutionalism to end the crown, that will get noticed. Even if we are not successful, it will send shock waves through the world. Often people talk about the corruption of the UN. The UN is obsolete. It's corrupt. Everybody, all Canadians and First Peoples, it is us, this country, this system, that is the corruption of the UN. There are many others, but we are a major corruption in the UN. UNDRIP, Agenda 2030, 2021, Green New Deal, these all come from that one colonial source. You can find it all from Prince Charles and the royal family. We're going to get into more in this video for all of you, just to explain what's going on. So I hope I've nailed that, and I'm sorry. I'm sure my first People's Following is going to fall off. I've already had some pretty bad messages, and it's sad. I can't win everybody. I can't promise things that we can't deliver. I just can't. I can't. And if I lie to anybody today or tomorrow or lead people on, we're screwed. We're no better than that what we want to destroy. It always has to be upfront and honest. I'm sorry that this offends people. I'm sorry that maybe it steps on cultural toes. I didn't make the world. I didn't make the binding international laws. And this is the world since 1945, bound on all of us, regardless. And there is no fixing Canada if we don't start there. I can go through so many countries who were successful by following that, and all their peoples are happier and more successful today. The countries are much richer in happiness, in unity, and pride, which equals economics, which equals all these things. Little countries doing amazing big things. We show you many, and we will get into that. If you go on this path with me, we'll go through it all. Everyone will get educated. The commission will get educated. The commission we're building, 50-50, First Peoples and Canadians, to build the MLA or MP candidates of the 338 going forward. That's what we're going to do. But these are the things we're going to bind. We're going to be truthful. We're going to be honest. We're going to teach everybody we vet and bring forward in one platform, one simple We the People platform, in real constitutionalism, formed by the people, the First Peoples and the Canadians. 50-50, two groups. And people say that's cockamamie, it could never happen. It's alive and well in the United States of America. It's also alive and well in the Arctic with Russia, USA, and Canada, who keeps their lips zipped on that as well too. You're all going to get educated on that as well. Of course, Canada, the biggest hypocrite, the biggest abuser, the biggest liar, never, ever owns up. Now, folks, we're going to continue on here, like I said. So, folks, news all over the place, right? China bad, China bad. I'm watching Trudeau, Freeland, Pierre Poilievre. We're all saying, oh, China, we're going to teach them a lesson. Are you ready for the numbers? I have all of it logged. I made sure to articulate, screenshot it, post this video. I'm going to post it. I'm going to post UK too. But these are major things you have to understand and things that lead into what we just talked about. So, China, right? Bad country, awful, garbage. Did you know Canadians and First Peoples right now, today, trade again with USA fell off. They're in recession. In the Oxford defined narrative of recession, meaning the Commonwealth of countries, how we define recession, USA has been in recession for many, many months. And it shows Canada's single biggest trading partner, our best friend south of the border, our trade fell off massively in October, September. And I'm watching this because I'm watching it crumble, and it's disheartening. And by the way, USA is the only country in the world that Canada has a positive trade balance, meaning We're not in deficit with USA. We actually earn currently 9.8% over the United States of America. Did you know, folks, we were at 12% just 4 months ago? We're down to 9.8%, meaning, and this isn't small. It's massive. It's dramatic, as they are our largest trading partner. You know what? I showed you all September. China took over the portion we lost of USA. China made up the difference. China imported from Canada, making up the difference, keeping us out of recession. I'm not a liar. I'm just telling you. Do you know, Canadians, in this massive drop with USA in October, massive, do you know who picked up the imports? Who's imported more from Canada? In fact, October is the first time in Canadian history we have a trade surplus with China. China imported more than they exported to us for the first time in Canadian history, right? Hey, what's this? Oh, made in China. For the first time in trade history, Canada and China, we have a surplus. Just 1 month. I don't know what's going to come. I'm just telling you by the numbers. So Pierre Poilievre, Trudeau, Freeland, apparently all of our political leaders are telling all of you, China bad, China evil. We got to end ties with China. We got to get tougher on China. Guess what the trade minister and the opposition shadow trade minister and their little caucus have to say? Well, I'm glad you all asked, Canadians and First Peoples. You can go right now, as of 4 days ago. I just checked, I screenshotted it in case they try to hide it. But they're asking you, this is breaking, Canadians, should we have a new free trade agreement directly with China? I thought China bad, we hate China. Why are we soliciting Canadians? Now, it's not on the news. It's definitely not advertised in government narratives or opposition or leadership. I don't hear Trudeau. I hear the opposite of Trudeau. But then on the website, it says they're entertaining a free trade agreement with China directly. Yeah, completely opposite of what they say. In fact, our trade is completely opposite of what they say. 3 months in a row. Again, Canadians, First Peoples, trade surplus, first time in Canadian history with China. Made up the deficit trade with USA that is going down because they're in a major recession. We would be too, but it's China who keeps us alive. Now, I want to talk about ultimate trade deficits. We want to go back, when I was talking about treaties and the British Empire and, the Canadian Constitution, and we're crown colonial, we have all these customary laws. And when you read the Constitution of Canada, it says we're modeled after the UK. We give our sovereignty, meaning the First Peoples, defined savages according to the index. They've given your sovereignty to the UK. All subjects can. You give your sovereignty to the UK. It's gone. Canadians, are you ready for this? This should blow you away, all of you. All the subjects and all the defined savages, not my words, the legal narrative written in law forever and a day for all the First Peoples and all Canadians. Subjects, savages. That's what they do. Slaves and people to be assimilated into slavery or genocide or wiped out. Gone. Those same government today, Massive trade deficit with the United Kingdom. That's not new. Do you know what the biggest exports from Canada to the UK on this trade deficit was? Guess what our largest export to the UK was? Gold. Gold. Massive gold. We have mines, and there's a new mine found. They're all, look at all the gold we got. We trade gold to UK, and in return, we get crypto, we get civil societies, non-profits, and UK financial institutions that only cost you, the subjects and savages, a lot of wealth and money. Massive trade deficit. Hey, Canadians and First Peoples, guess how much you have in gold reserves? Oh yeah, sweet fuck all. Sweet fuck all. Did you know both Liberals and Conservatives alike liquidated all of it? But yet, we're exporting as much as we can mine to the UK, because that's good business. It's not. It's garbage. Folks, that's my video. Thanks for tuning in. Share, share, share. Real, credible, verifiable. Good night.